The heck? Is it 9? Oh, it is. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Open Live Q&A. My name is Mr. McLogan, and yeah, actually, I already said this is Open Live Q&A. And starting off, I should be unmuted by now. Starting off with the bank, thank you so much, Matt. I know you've given me some super chats in the past, so I I greatly appreciate everything over that. And I'm so happy to hear that you passed calculus. And I don't know if you are taking the AP exam, which, I didn't know is tomorrow. So for all of you that have exams coming up, I wish you guys the best of luck. I'm going to do, I do have some other videos that I have slated that are going to come up, but I'm going to kind of make some short form out there so they get there. So I know everybody kind of takes exams at different times and everything else. Some people are just graduated, right? It's like, everybody's at different stages, but I do have some videos that are coming down the pipeline that I am going to throw out as just some shorts. Therefore, to help you, hopefully, kind of give you guys some last minute kind of tips. I mean, obviously, I know a lot of you guys show up, on the stream and ask your questions, which is awesome. And, happy to, give you guys advice, in there as well. But, I am going to post a couple more shorts, for you guys to kind of, just kind of give you like some end of the year kind of like advice, tips, just kind of help, that hopefully, can benefit. And if you don't need it, then congratulations. You have gone through again this whole year. So yeah, I've seen some people have like 4 more days left. I know some people are still going into like June. Some people have all their exams left. Some people just graduated. So yeah, it's a lot. So absolutely. But I'm happy to get into someone questions. Nobody cares. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate it. Can you teach tricks how to become math genius? Yeah, comes into a lot of practice. A lot of practice and a lot of time. I think that's kind of the main thing here from there. And Matt, I think you're the winner, man. That's the most super chat I think I've ever had. So congratulations. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. Can I teach you how to graph quadratic functions? Yeah, absolutely. So you can see up here, I have a question. You can post right there and submit your link. You can like take a snapshot with your phone and like upload it there. Or you can also go into the Discord link, which I am so thankful for all of you on the Discord to keeping it going, because I have I've had just a lot of things I've had to like kind of work on my end. And I just have not been able to be present as much on the Discord in the last like 4 weeks, maybe even more. And about 4 weeks that, so yeah, I'm looking into kind of getting that revamped and getting back in there, from in there. But the best thing about Discord is it's not reliant on me answering questions like on a live stream, right? When I say, hey, I'm going live, like you're expecting me to go live and like answer questions. But on Discord, the best thing is it's like really community. You guys can post questions, help each other out. Other people help each other out. There's different things for you guys to go ahead and, talk about and connect with other people if you want to. If you don't want to, you can just stay on math. Like it all really kind of depends on what, you're kind of comfortable with and how you want to interact. But if you do have math questions, I would highly recommend that you go ahead and take a look at the Discord server and get a check out. And if you have questions for tonight's stream, then feel free to just go ahead and use the link up above. Well, awesome, Gabe. Yes, Algebra 2. I have a lot of content and we'll be making more content, hopefully to help you out. Prove it. Brian, I'm very sorry. I know the error in my ways. I am, how old am I? I got to do the math. I like forget. I am 38. There we go. 38. Well, awesome, Carter. So happy to help you out. Yeah, I mean, it's, I think it's all kind of the, kind of that eyeball, like kind of where you're at, right? I mean, you don't look at like elementary math and be like, oh, it's very complex, right? But as you build up, like the more you learn, it's just the more doors and everything else that are open now for you to explore, what's out there. Absolutely not. I'm not even close. I'm at like the base of a mountain, like not even close to what is out there. The link does not work for you. I tried direct connecting the link or typing it in directly. It still should work. I do have my website coming up. That also I do have it posted in the chat as well. So let me know if that does not work. I do have it as a pinned chat. So if you want to try that link, or just try direct connected. I did have some students that have let me know about that before. And this is also in the description. So So if you go to that brianmclogan.com/Q&A, then you can go ahead and submit a picture up there. It's a Google form that you can go ahead and type in. No, I totally forgot about it actually. So I really apologize. I really wish this year has just been like the most crazy year ever. You know, stepping away from the classroom is just been like so surreal for me. And like all the things that I'm so used to like being on top of, like winter break and spring break and the exams, end of year, graduation. Like I don't know any of it. Like I'm not in the loop at all. So I'm until you guys let me know about it, I was like, oh my God, I didn't even have time to like create content for the AP exam. But I will tell you guys that and this doesn't mean anything for you that you've taken it, but I do plan on getting back into my calculus for next year. So definitely looking forward to that. Yes, I did go to college to become a math teacher. Yep. I do not know math extensionaires. Hey, Ethiopia. I've been watching your videos for years. Well, awesome. So happy to help you out. Well, hey, Gunther. I'll take AP Cal. Awesome. Yes. I mean, I think one of my base tips that I did, you know, a video on like the math tips recently is like, you know, do the problems you know how to do first, right? Your math, you know, the math exam, the AP exam, I mean, it can suck your time up really quickly, right? So you got to be very careful, you know, always make sure you read through the question, but you know, do the problems you know how to do first, right? Can you help me graph? Yeah, you can just factor that I would just factor that, finding the zeros would probably be the best way. But again, I'm going to, or use Desmos, which would be a great one. But I would recommend I didn't even notice I'm not even in that. Let me get, there you go. What I would recommend is, yeah, I mean, I'll be kind of getting to my questions. If you don't want to submit it, that's fine. And then after the end, I'll, you know, if I have time, we'll kind of see. I just teach basically anything that I kind of want at the moment. I'm trying to go back through a lot of older content, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, some pre-calculus, some calculus. And because it's been so long since I taught some of those problems, some of those videos. I got BC tomorrow and I felt so lost on series apart from the ratio test. Yeah. Series bar from the ratio test. I can get you know, the thing is about the, you know, AP exam, you know, it's like, just, you have what you know, right? You know what you know, and like, just go with it, right? Don't overthink it. Don't over like anxiety or whatever else. Like you have prepared, you have done everything that you have needed to do up to this point, and just go for it. How can I best answer even though I don't get the problem? Basically, how do I guess better? It's a great question. You know, if you had to guess, I think it's a really good question. You know, kind of got me stumped there, because it's like I'm trying to think of like, you know, if you did have to make that absolute guess, you know what? I would try to work backwards. I mean, maybe just try to see if there's answers that maybe would make sense, maybe not make sense. Maybe try to see, I will say there are a lot of questions that sometimes you don't need to do the problem, right? You don't really need to do all the steps. So maybe try to look for, maybe it's like one of those problems you might be able to do a very, very shortcut on. But as far as just making a random guess, you know, I don't know if there is anything, tips or anything else I can really come up from there. We had a non-calculator paper in IB math. I don't know what SL is, and it was one of the worst things ever. I totally get it. I feel like my peers and I were not. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, you weren't. I mean, in general, right? Anybody that has been coming through the educational pipeline, right, that has experienced education the last 3 years, has not had the same experience as other students, right? And we'd like to be able to say it was a lot very comparable, but you know, it just wasn't, right? So it's very difficult. I think, you know, I was very happy at my school. We held the rigor and tried to be as consistent and as high as we could, but still, you know, I don't think students got the same learning experience. If we're doing online, if we were doing like in person with math, like you just didn't get the same experience. There's so many things that were going on outside of the classroom that I know impacted education, impacted teachers, impacted students, scheduling, you know, and everything else. So, you know, unfortunately, I think that's, you know, some things we have to overcome, you know, from on that. And, but, you know, it was a very big hurdle, but I don't think, you know, I think there's some things you just need to kind of accept and move on from there. But then also some things you just need to like, you know, realize like, hey, I gotta, you know, there's some things we got to do about it, right? You know, it's kind of like that. Well, you can't beat yourself up on it because a lot of it's not even your fault, right? But there are some things you can control, you know, kind of moving forward. So, but you know, I wouldn't dwell too much on from there because it was tough. I am right now in class 8th. I've covered 9th and 10th already now. I'm looking forward to start with calculus and I want to master it. Can you tell me how I should approach to calculus? Well, I'm not sure if are you just taking, I mean, I just go through the, you know, the preparations that you have, you know, going through. I don't have any specifics on getting into the calculus. I mean, obviously you're going to want to be very strong in your algebra and have a good, you know, getting up the trig. And then once you feel ready, then, you know, go and tackle it. Man, you can even tackle it. You know, you don't need to wait for calculus. There's a lot of good content about just learning calculus. You know, it's kind of like physics. Like you don't have to use all calculus-based physics to understand physics, right? So, you know, calculus there's a lot of things, but you know, I would just start kind of, you know, dipping your toes, as they say, in the water of like learning calculus content and topics, right? And just try to look for stuff that's going to be really kind of not so much watered down, but doesn't get in depth, like in the weeds on the content. And just so you can kind of like get an understanding of what calculus is all about. And then, you know, don't try to push it, but just kind of go at your pace and how you're feeling. What do you do when you have ADHD? Get homework done. Oh, where did I read ADHD? Was that in another one? That's so funny. Oh yeah. Okay. ADHD. Yeah, I think you just got to do like intervals, you know, try to do 15 minutes, try to do 20 minutes, you know, but I think it is helpful to kind of get rid of distractions and then just try to do like 10 minutes at a time, you know, get up, take a walk. I mean, that's what I do. I'm in this room, right? And I have to do different scenarios. Like I'll study in here, then I'll go in my office. So I'll keep on always be mixing things up. I will open up to that people in the chat. You know, as far as people that are, I mean, obviously I know like, you know, as far as like introductory calculus, you know, I don't know exactly what you're looking for. I mean, Black Pen, Red Pen, Professor Leonard, I mean, they teach the calculus and they teach a lot of calculus content. I don't know if it might be the best for you introducing or just learning it. And obviously there's some really other bigger channels that are not teachers that might be a good starter as well, but I'll open that up to the comments. Yeah, if you go and submit your question, I mean, that's a lot of times I don't get to all the completing our law of cosines, but feel free, I'll give it a shot. Yes, I do have some content. I'm kind of going backwards on the geometry. Yeah, I do have actually some geometry content coming through actually. Samir, you got it. You got it. Good luck. Yes, I am planning on making some 12th grade. I don't really know what 12th grade is, but yes, definitely would do. For calculus, one of the main things. So, well, I mean, when the calculus, you know, when you're learning calculus 1, you're going to learn about the integral and you're going to learn about the derivative and the limits. You know, from there, and you know, that's, I mean, any calculus textbook, Calc 1 textbook is roughly going to go through the same material. So I would, you know, just kind of looking from there and start working through kind of content. If you're just kind of looking for an idea, or I'm sure there's syllabuses on, you know, available online as well to take a look at. Yeah, get some sleep. Mondays are always tough. You know, that's try to go to bed and just start the week off early. Cause you know, sometimes Monday morning can really hurt. So I think if you can, you know, maybe try to get to bed a little bit earlier, that's maybe the best. And maybe, you know, I'm always on live stream. That always messes me up because I always sometimes stay up too late from these live streams. Well, actually, I did retire from being a classroom teacher. So yeah, I stepped away this year from the classroom. So yeah, I've been doing YouTube this year. It's kind of been weird, but it's been enjoyable. I'm good at math. Feel the world news, Ethiopia is now a war zone. That's crazy. And university I was sent to, government chooses for you, is in the middle of it. Wow, crazy. I'm so sorry to hear you have to go through that. I think it's it's tough to to know that people trying to learn and trying to get their education and all the other circumstances, all the other things that people have to go through just for just for an education. And I'm just, my heart goes out to you. Just it's I, I don't know what else I can say or offer as I think is like quality advice. Because I can't relate in regard to that. So, but just my thoughts go to, and I really hope that things can come to an end, and you can be able to continue to persevere and put in the work, put in the work that you need to, and wishing you all the best. Right, it's bad. That's why I'm here. Well, yeah, sometimes your teacher's good. Sometimes people are here because they fell asleep. Sometimes, there's all things. So I'm happy to have you on. Oh God. Okay. Sorry. Man, you know what I haven't had? I haven't had my why are you not? Come on. You that delayed? No, come on. All right. Thank you. Sorry, I had to go back through and look through things. All right, so it looks like not so bad. All right. Is calculus easier than statistics? I mean, I did, but I know a lot of students, probably the majority of students that I know currently went through like pre-calculus would say that statistics was easier than calculus. But I guess I'm one of those students that I preferred and thought calculus was easier than that. Why are you not? There you go. I guess somebody was in there. No, just math. Oh, thanks so much, Al. That's how we live and let you know your videos have been tracked properly. Well, awesome. So happy. You were live, not where you live. I was like, what? Okay. There are no mods. Don't worry. I can change that on to in just a second. I always like having this as where everybody can be able to do it, but I can no type to be able to go through on there. And yeah, I'm looking on my other chat where I'm looking at the other chat where it's a little bit delayed, so I do apologize for that. But it does get me back into there. Brian, have I changed the law of cosines? Any tips? Yeah, I mean, just stay with the law of cosines and make sure you know two forms, right? Make sure you know the law of cosines when you're solving for the angle and when you're solving for the sine. Thank you so much, Jaja. Well, you're very welcome. Thank you so much. All right, yeah, I'm kind of way behind. Sorry about that, guys. How do you make a quadrilateral of 4 angles and a protractor? I have no idea. I'd have to go back through it. Wow, there's a lot. Yeah, okay. Man, what are you guys doing? Come on, chat is now open. No, to everyone. What was it? He is not answering. Subscribers, yeah, okay. So weird. Okay. My finals tomorrow, and I just want to say your videos help me so much. Well, you're very welcome. So happy to be able to help you out. Just running. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just kind of go back through the Riemann sum. I think maybe going back through like the visual. I mean, that always kind of helped me with Riemann sum from on there, like having the visual and then the arithmetic understanding. But I don't really have any direct tips, I guess. with that. Just, I'd just recommend looking through. Oh, actually, here's just a quick example. And this is for everybody. It's a very general advice. A lot of times when you have a problem that you're kind of like struggling with, and maybe you have an example that your teacher wrote down, rewrite the examples, like go through that whole example and then try to see if you can do it on your own. Right. And then if you can't do it on your own, then cover it back up and try to do it again and keep on going through it so you can actually like get through the motion. And the reason why I came through that is like, so there's a difference when you're trying to learn something. I kind of think of it as like the free throw versus the kick flip. Okay. So follow me through, but I kind of got some weird things. So obviously I'm not very good at math. I'm not math. Well, I did struggle with math very much, but basketball, right? And so one of the things with basketball is, you want to be doing like when you're hitting free throws, right? The reason why, our professionals are so good at hitting free throws, they shoot that shot over and over and over and over again, right? Well, obviously, same kind of thing with the multiplication tables. Like when you do 7 times 8, right? Over and over and over again, like you just get really used to it. Like it's kind of comes natural, right? When you do 7 plus 8 over and over and over again, you just know the answer is 15. You don't have to count your fingers. You just know it, right? But there's a lot of obviously math like Riemann sums. You're not going to want to do 100 problems. You could, but that's probably not going to be ideal. Now, the other thing comes into it is like when I remember when I was like in 7th grade and I was like skateboarding, I was trying to learn how to, do a kickflip. And I mean, we would just try over and over and over the same idea, right? But once you kind of get it, you're not doing like thousands of kickflips. I mean, you do a lot of them once you get it, but it's like, the point that I was trying to make is like kind of like Riemann sub. We weren't just understanding how to do the kickflip, right? But we kept on trying and trying. And same kind of thing. Like I would recommend like, you have the problem in front of you, like go through it, right? And then cover it up and try to go over it again. Like you're not at mastery stage. So you don't want to be doing 100 different problems. Just focus on that one problem and try to keep on going over and over and over again until you can eventually kind of get it. And hopefully that should not be like multiple attempts or like hours and hours, but it should be something that you should, be practicing just with that one problem that you have the, answer to kind of like understand and get an idea of what you're doing. So I would do that for any math problem. And I used to do that myself when I was not understanding how to do a problem. I would just kind of go through the process myself through, covering up the problem, whatever else I had for my teacher. So I tried a math one day. I fell in love with it. That's very much like myself. Yes, that's awesome. I mean, I took it in high school and that's about it. Well, awesome. That's awesome. So sweet. Feel free to hit me up on Discord as well. That's awesome. Oh, you're very welcome. I'm so happy to be here for you. And hey, Pursuit, good to have you on. Uh-oh. Pecco, I did not see this originally posted. So, do you think that homework charge has been increased during this time of the pandemic, or do you think it has been lowered? Do you think the homework charge, I mean, like the impact of like how homework is on your grade? Is that what you mean by the charge? The only thing I can talk about is my experience from last year, which I drastically reduced the homework load that I had. I didn't really, sorry, let me take that back. I didn't drastically. So typically when I gave homework, or at least in pre-calculus, I taught other courses, but yeah, let's just kind of go through my pre-calculus course. So on my pre-calculus course, which like I offer online as well, like my homework was I have free response questions, multiple choice questions, and then I do like a spiral review, right? And for any of you that are learning, math, that like a spiral review is extremely important to helping you learn, just because it remains fresh, right? You always have to keep on it. So the one thing I would recommend with that spiral review, which actually, okay. So on the spiral review, what I was going to say is, so last year when I taught, I just told my students, you don't have to do the spiral review. And the reason why I did that, even though I wanted them to do it and I told them to do it, I just didn't like make it as a mark. One, I had a lot more things I was doing with like distance learning, online learning. Like, I mean, my time was just like extremely limited. I'm like, I can't control, like, I can't be checking or verifying all this stuff, right? And grades and stuff like that. It was just too much. And then the other thing, it's like, you know, I mean, this was last year. It wasn't this year. But again, like still, even this year, like, you know, people are dealing with family issues, right? Parents are, you know, dealing, you know, like, I mean, people are dying. And, you know, people are getting out of work, right? Or, you know, having to stay home or self-quarantine. I mean, it was just like crazy. And so I just thought it was, in my opinion, even though I wanted to hold the rigor up, I just wanted to be as understandable for people's situations and not have to, not so much call them out, but, you know, like, you know, just kind of give them the benefit of the doubt and be like, hey guys, I'm just going to, here it is, because I want you to still, I want to hold that bar up there, but I am not going to, you know, this is not normal what we are going through. And so I didn't want people to be impacted on there, because a lot of people are going through a lot of crazy stuff, and still are, right? So I thought it was in the best interest of my class and courses to reduce that workload from the homework. But I still taught the exact same that I would, you know, so when you showed up in class or my online, you got the exact same material, but I just thought it was best to reduce a little bit of the workload from home. So mine was reduced. So that's at least where I saw it. All right, we got to get into some math here coming up. Thank you, Will. I am having a good day. Thank you so much, Jim. Appreciate that. Well, awesome, Alberto. I just want to express my appreciation. Well, awesome. So happy to help you out. Dude, I got so many. If you just check out my recent video, I just did like 4 video series on about completing the square. So you can definitely go and check that out, and I will kind of go through everything for you. I do not have any perspective because I've never taken it or looked at the content on it. So that's unfortunately mine. Well, awesome, Vico. Happy to help you out. It is. All right. Yes. Study. Actually, I'm going to I'll have a video coming up. Not a video, a short coming up right now for you guys to go for it, to watch. Yes, for sure. All 12,000 of them. If you don't watch all 12,000, you might have a missing kind of sling. But I think if you watch all 12,000 of my videos, you're going to be amazing in calculus. But actually, in reality, no. You know, watching videos is like half the battle, right? You got to put in the work. It really is. Like, so, you know, just watching a video, understanding it. Like, I mean, how many times have you been in a class, watch something, and, you know, and you're like, oh, go home. And then you go home and like, you're like, oh, I already know how to do it. I'm not going to do my homework till late. Right? Or the next day, the next morning. So then you go home and you get home, you wake up the next morning or late at night and you're like, holy crap, I totally forgot everything. Right? So you got to put in the work and, you know, stay on top of things. Now, I mean, probably speak directly to your teacher, kind of look for some additional resources that you can go through. Check the video. I got that. Can I? Set it equal to 0, factor, complete the square, or quadratic formula to solve. You can. If math is not your strong suit, I've just never taken a math course in the summer, and all that I've heard is, and all that I know about them is they are, you know, compressed, right? So they're going to be going through a little bit faster. So if math's not your strong foot, I mean, unless you really need that credit to prepare you for the next year, I'm just always a little bit hesitant on, you know, recommending summer courses for students. And what's Luis? Go for it. 2. I'm sure math is a fun easier when you get to choose which math you can do. Yes, usually. I mean, I think when you have any kind of choice, I think it's definitely. Yes, you can. Best though is get to Q&A. I will be checking those. I do have some questions that were already submitted, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to any of those questions, but I am going to do the questions that I already have submitted up here first, and then any other questions that were submitted on Q&A, I'll try to get to. And then if I have any other questions, I'll go through anything on the chat. My hardest math course, I think I remember, was abstract algebra when I was in college. I just remember I had a tough time kind of going through that course. Well, thank you so much, Carmen. All right. Happy to help you out, Rayard. All right. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is we're going to take off these. And let's get into the math style. Where do we got the 1, 2? Oh, why do I do that? Okay. There we go. Find the inverse. I don't get it. I don't know why some people have the link is broken. Go ahead and if you directly type it into your browser, it should work. Go ahead and give it a shot there. I do apologize for that. Do you have any tips? I mean, it's always kind of tough, like the night before exam, to give you any guys kind of quality tips, at least in my opinion. To be honest with you, the night before a test, I don't think there's much you can do. I mean, get some good sleep, rest, and relax, right? So I think a lot of times when you guys are taking tests, you're going to get very anxious, right? Anxiety kind of creeps up. You know, I gave you guys a testing tip, like do the math problems you know how to do first, right? That was a video I did like a week or two ago. And I think that that's exactly what you should be doing. But I think sometimes we get very built up, right? Anxiety built up. And I think it's really important if you guys can just like stop, relax, breathe, and go through it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into some math problems. And again, guys, if you want to get into math problems, go ahead and check out the description. You guys can post inside the link. All right, so the first one is how to find the inverse of a function. So just remember, like algebraically, guys, it doesn't really matter what the function is. You know, you're just going to want to swap the x and the y, and then go ahead and solve for y. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have x equals log base 2 of a y minus 5. Okay, so now I need to get rid of the log base 2, right? I want to get rid of the log. I want to solve for y. That's an argument inside the logarithm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exponentiate to a base 2 on both sides, basically taking both of these and having a base 2. So therefore, I'm going to have a 2 to the x is equal to a 2 log base 2 of a y minus 5. So the reason why exponentiating works, because what happens is the rules of logarithms basically says if you have a b of log base b of, let's say, x, that is equal to an x, right? That's equal to the argument. So what I have here is a 2 to the x is equal to a y minus 5. So therefore, now I can say y is equal to a 2 to the x plus 5. And that is going to be my final answer. Hopefully that's kind of visible. Kind of looks a little weird there. Actually, what I'll do is I'm just going to move all of that right there. There you go. I don't know where that B came from. Oh, that was the B up here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do this one. So this one, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to swap the x and y. So x equals a 4y minus 1 minus 9, right? Now just solve for y, right? So now I'm going to add a 9 to both sides. So I have an x plus 9 is equal to a, what was that, a 4? Y minus 1. Okay, so now, again, we need to solve for y. So now my y is in the, as a power. So if I want to get rid of that, what I can do is take the logarithm of base 4. And again, using the same idea here, if I have log base b, what am I looking for? No, sorry. Yeah, base b, yes, of a, what did I do? B base b of, yeah, that's right. Okay, of b of x, that's equal x. I'm trying to think of like how I'm writing the rules. And yes, that's what we're looking for. We're trying to get this. So therefore, what I have is if I take a log base 4 on both sides, I get an x plus 9 is equal to a log base 4 of 4 raised to the y minus 1, right? Well, now that's just going to give me a y minus 1. So log base 4 of a x plus 9 equals a y minus 1. And therefore, I get y is equal to a log base 4 of x plus 9 plus 1. Voila. You're solving the x and the y backwards. Yes. So first thing you want to do is swap the x and y. So that's what we do to go ahead and find the inverse. And again, you can go ahead and now swap this for the inverse notation, right? So make sure you go ahead and use this inverse notation because yes, we are finding the inverse of the function, not the other function. So definitely a whole different examples, but I'm just trying to go through that as quickly as I can. All right, so this next one, so I'm struggling with the Pythagorean theorem. I can't seem to understand it. So I mean, I think my best way to kind of like explain and understand the Pythagorean theorem is a lot of students have it memorized like this, you know, A, B, that's a horrible right angle, by the way, and C, right? So we have the A squared plus B squared equals C squared, right? Now, you didn't say like struggling with this thing. I don't know where you're struggling. I can't seem to understand. So the one thing that I would recommend doing, or what I like to do, because I don't think it's the mathematical approach, is what I like to look at this is like, here's your 90-degree angle, right? That always points to what we call your hypotenuse. And then these, the two legs, the two sides that make up your 90-degree is what we call our legs. So yeah, A, B, and C's, you know, are helpful, but like when you're doing triangles that different things have A, B, and C's, like sometimes it can be confusing. So what I always like to look at this as leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. I don't know if that's helpful or not for you, but hopefully it gave you something additional way to kind of look at it. So the function is defined. I think the student just wanted help with just a domain range. So I think whenever you're dealing with piecewise functions and you want to better understand the domain and range, what I would like to do, or what I'd prefer you do, is just like sketch a graph. So you said you didn't need help with a graph, but let's just go and do this. So let's actually do a little review of how to do a piecewise function. So we have two functions. Okay. So we have 3. Actually, let's say we have 2x. So we have 2x. So 2x, if we were to go and graph that, that's going to be up 2 over 1 or down 2 to the left 1, right? So we have 0, 2, and 1. Okay. So what's that, 0? Yeah. Okay. So now you can see that is the line, but it says x cannot equal 0, right? So you can see there's a little hole right there, right? Because it cannot equal 0 at, actually, whatever. Forget about this. Forget that. Hold on a second. Okay. We're just going to go ahead and graph it. Forget what I said. Let's just go ahead and graph it as it is, okay? Because I want to make a point to you first. Okay, here is the graph, 2x. So that is, you know, let's just do y equals. So here is y equals a 2x, okay? And then let's do 3. So here's 3. Okay, now the problem is, this is called a function, right? Function. But guys, this is not a function, right? That doesn't pass the vertical line test, right? Agreed? So what we have to do is, that's why we have our restrictions. So what the restrictions tell us is, the restrictions allow us to graph both of these functions, both of the functions on the same graph. So what it says is 2x is for x is equal, where x is not equal to 0. So that means it's true for all numbers except when x is equal to 0. So what I'm going to do is say, all right, at x equals 0, there's going to be an open hole here. And I know you can kind of see through it, but we're going to say it's an open hole. And then 3 is only going to be true at x equals 0. So I'm just going to put a nice dot here, right? If it's only true at that point. Okay, so now what we need to do is be able to identify the domain and range. So again, when you're looking at like the domain, that's basically when you're looking at a graph, like how far left a graph goes, how far to the right does the graph go without any restrictions, okay? So pretend like you're a little dude or dudette walking along the graph, okay? Like you can see here, as you're going on, all these points like continue going down indefinitely to the left, And as you're kind of going to the right, you're going up, right? You're going from left to right, you're going up. But all these values, all these x values, you are stepping on something, right? You're like defined, right? There's a defined space for you to drop. Now here you have a hole. However, at this value x equals 0, there is a defined value, which is up here, right? So the domain in this case is going to be all real numbers. Because after you get to this point, you jump on, there's no other restrictions. There's no other holes, okay? However, the range is going to be the set of y values. So when we're looking at the range, we're looking at, all right, how far low are you going? How far up are you going? So now we're looking at the y values. Now, are all the y values defined? Well, as you're getting up to this point, as you're getting to the x value of 0, you notice there's no y value that's defined. Like you're not defined at this value. Like y does not equal 0, nor is it going to be defined. So the y value, so the domain for the range is going to be from -infinity to 0, union 0 to infinity. And I'm not sure if I really did a great way of explaining that, but basically the domain is a set of all x values that are defined, right? So x equals 0 is not defined on the graph here, but it's defined up here. But when you look at y equals -1, it's right here. Y equals -2, right here. Y equals -3, right here, right? Y equals 1, here. Y equals 2, here. What about y equals 0? There is no y equals 0. Is there any other place where y equals 0 is defined? No. So that's why we use that basically all real numbers except y cannot equal 0. And that's how we write it in what we call interval notation. So, and then, hey, Ralph, I didn't see him join on there. All right, so here we have a complex fraction. So what do we do for this one? 1 minus r squared divided by s squared. Okay, so what I would recommend doing is I'd multiply everything by my common denominator. So you can see we have a lot of denominators, right? But we want to look at like the smallest denominators here, which is going to be an s squared. So I'm going to multiply an s squared times everything up top and everything up bottom. Okay, so I need to distribute this to both things. So when I do that, I'm going to get an s squared minus an r squared. Then over here, got to multiply it to every single one. That's going to give me an s squared minus a 2r divided by s. No, it's not. 2rs. Minus a 2rs. And then this is going to give me a plus a r squared. Okay. Then I notice I recognize some factoring techniques, right? I recognize this can be an s minus r times an s plus r. And then over here, this looks like a perfect square trinomial. So this would be a s minus r times a s minus r, right? Or s minus r quantity squared. So then those are going to divide out, and therefore left with an s plus r divided by an s minus r, where, yes, that'd be it. And then the student had a trouble with, I'm not really sure what I can do this. I mean, the teacher made a mistake. By -2y plus 3y, that's supposed to be a -6y. But I'm not really sure what else I can really teach you from here, you know, as far as without where you can make your mistakes. I mean, like, you know, you can apply FOIL or distributed property. I just don't, you know, maybe if you're in the chat, if you want to let me know where you have any questions, or like what the issue is, like, yeah, the answer should have been a -6y squared. I think really, actually, you know what? Let me give you something. This is one thing I teach a lot of times. So if you guys look at this problem, this looks confusing actually as heck, right? There's so many things going on. So let me actually give you something that you can do. So if you need to subtract an x minus 2y, now this is not something ideal I would work out of this problem, but if you are struggling, like the student reached out to me and said, hey, I'm having trouble, I'm making mistakes. Are you talking about this 2rs? Oh, that got factored. So this got factored down to that. This is a perfect square trinomial. Same kind of thing. So that's what happened there. And again, if you want an example with numbers, because a lot of times we look at numbers. So like if I had x squared minus a 6x plus 9, that's a perfect square trinomial, right? So you could think about it like this way. X squared minus a 2 times 3 times x plus a 3 squared. So just kind of replace the S with like, I don't know, a 2 and the R with a 3. And you can see how that relationship works, right? So this is a x minus 3 times an x minus 3. So sometimes it's helpful to kind of look at numbers in comparison with variables. Okay. Anyway, so if you're making mistakes, what I actually recommend my students do, and this is like a lot of problems, so I wouldn't recommend it as much when you're doing this, but again, like if you need something just kind of make sense, then use the box method. So when you're multiplying any two products, you're always basically like finding an area. Anytime you're multiplying two things, you're basically finding an area of some box. So what I'd recommend doing is just write one binomial on one side and one on the other. Okay. And then you just multiply to find the area of each box. X times x is x squared. X times 3y is a 3xy. X times negative 2y is a negative 2xy. And negative y times plus a 3y is going to be a negative 6y squared. Right? Now on the diagonal, as long as they're in like terms, you're going to have, these are common terms. So I have a x squared plus a xy minus a 6y squared. And voila, there you go. And again, you can see x squared plus 6y, and then that's where they made their mistake, right? All right. I mean, these are basically all the same thing, so I'll just do 1 and 2. So what is the equation of a line? So again, we kind of need to know two different lines, right? So what is a line that has undefined slope? This is a line, right? So actually, here's an xy axis. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so x equals 3 is that equation. So let's say that's the x-axis, that's the y-axis. So x equals 3, right? So that has a undefined slope. So when you have a vertical line, that's going to undefined slope, and let's say negative 2. If you have a horizontal line like y equals a negative 2, then we can have a slope, I'll just call it 0, m is going to be 0. So if it needs to go through a certain point, well, it kind of makes it a little bit easier for us actually, because if I have negative 1, 5, so negative 1 up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it says, what is the equation of the line? What is the equation that has an undefined slope? Well, it has to go through its point, right? Well, if it's undefined, it has to be a vertical line, guys. So therefore, it's going to be x equals a negative 1, right? And this one, if the slope is 0, well, let's look at the y coordinates. It's going to be y equals negative 10. But again, I'll go through it. So negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? Here's the point. But again, it has to be horizontal, right? The slope is 0. So again, the y value there is going to be negative 10. So y equals negative 10. Okay, my eye is getting a little tricky, but let's go and take a look at those of you that submitted an extra question. Oh, more of you? What is going on, people? All right, let me go and see. I'll try to do my best. That's a lot of questions. Congratulations. I know you guys got exams, so I'll try to do my best. The best thing I can recommend, I'm assuming you're still confused on that problem. Like go back and literally, I mean, it is difficult. Like I just know factoring. I practice that like, because I know these numbers, right? I know that relationship. But yeah, it's just knowing this special relationship is what's really helpful for you on that. All right, so these were all questions, guys. I don't know how many other questions I'm going to be able to get to, but I know some people have joined on. They're like, hey, where are people entering questions? These are all people that posted their question here. And again, if you have more questions, you guys can also go to the Discord as well, because I'm not going to be able to get to everybody's. I do apologize for that. All right, let's see who we can get to. Not going to be able to do that. Sorry. But again, guys, if you're sending me over like really long questions or questions that I need to like read or like word problems, I apologize. Not every question I'm going to be able to get to. I try to do my best, but it is a lot. I hope not 26 of you all sending a question. A lot of people just like to chill out and watch the math. And then there's also a lot of people that submit like 20 questions or the same question 5 many times. And I'm like, I don't know why. Maybe there was an issue, but it doesn't really matter if you send it 5 times or 1 time. I just don't know what to do since I did your question, right? I believe. Yes. Okay. All right. No, not gonna have to go through. And yeah, like one of the things I want to get through is a lot of my calculus, and so which I haven't gone through, and I'm not. And for those of you that are all around the world too, like I've only taught basically the algebra, geometry, algebra 2, pre-calculus, and calculus inside of the American school system, like inside of a classroom. So one of the things I want to do is keep on expanding out from there. Quiz tomorrow on elimination. All right, I'll just do example. Well, now I got to make up an example, so that's not going to be fun, but whatever. I guess I might as well do a... There you go. Do this. No, unfortunately, I stepped away. All right, so we'll do that one. Well, pose your question. Yeah, I mean, basically you're just factoring, setting them equal to 0 and factoring. Doing tips for studying for math finals. Yes, my tip for studying for math finals is, try to do as much as early as you can. And I'm actually going to have a short for you guys covering for studying for your finals. So actually I'll come up with that as well. Well, awesome. So happy to be able to help you out, and so happy to help you out in the Discord. Ooh, haha. As a previous teacher, what has been the easiest method of cheating to detect? I think good old cheating. I mean, students just like looking on others' papers. I mean, or students obviously like just blatantly copying. I mean, when you look at students' papers and you like once you kind of pass the first quarter, you kind of know where students are at and what they understand and what they're capable of. So anything that's off is going to be a red flag. So a lot of times I would just know where students, like I talked with them and everything else. And then I would notice that they're doing better on testing quizzes. And so that just bring up a red flag. And so I'm like, what's going on here? Like, and then sometimes I would hear like, oh yeah, they're getting help, from somebody in the other class. And then I started switching up tests, or they're copying, and like, or sometimes they're doing cheat sheets. So, I think one is just like students that are looking easily on somebody else's paper. That's the easiest one to detect. But also, yeah, just kind of red flags when students are doing better than I know they should be. Then that would usually just, my eyes, ears would kind of perk up and like, what's going on here? And again, sometimes students were just better at testing quizzes, right? I mean, you have like that natural thing going on as well. All right. Let's set those questions. We just want to have a paper to any tips. I answered your question on there. Yeah, I mean, if you have it tomorrow, just breathe, relax, right? Like I think I told you earlier, breathe, relax, you got this. I'll say I didn't pay much attention here to these problems in class. I need a full walkthrough on how to do this problem. Okay, try to do my best. All right, properties of logarithms. I think we can do something like that. Hopefully. Yeah, the pandemic was hard. So I really appreciate you, with the effort of like improving, but it was hard, way harder than I think a lot of people expected and everything else. So, don't give yourself a little grace, I guess I can say. All right. I'm actually going to turn this off because I don't want any more questions coming in, because I'm going to try to do my best to get to you guys. So actually, let me turn off those overlays, because I think if you've already submitted a question, then you kind of know. You're kind of waiting. Oh, God. I was hoping just for fast problems. All right, but I can do completing the square. Okay. You're very welcome, Abs. Happy to be able to help you out. All right, guys, I'm just going and getting a couple more questions. Again, these are all just recently submitted, so I didn't have time to kind of prepare them. So I'm just kind of looking at, but again, this is why it comes up to, you know, you guys getting me something that's easy, quick and fast. I'd have to go back over to look at that. Sorry, Coco. I just need more time to just like review. I haven't dealt with like the three-dimensional in a while. I just need to review that. Those two angles add up to that, right? Yeah. Wait, no. Those two angles, the two exterior angles. Crap, I forgot. I have to. You jump in my question. I don't know where your question was. What was your question on, Giannis? Was it on the calculus? Because I haven't taught calculus in like 4 years, so I don't go through any of the calculus questions or calculus or above. You know, because obviously I got to do things that are on the top of my mind, and I also been talking my live stream for over an hour, so sometimes I get a little tired from on there. But yeah, it's, you know, unless there's something that I'm really confident with my instruction or something that a regular, like I'm just not going to cover every math problem or like, you know, sit here and try to remember and figure things out. You know, I've done that before and it doesn't look good. All right. I'm almost positive the two angles add up to, how would that equal? Okay. Okay, simplify a radical. I can do that. Man, you guys are slowing a lot of questions. Where's everybody at the beginning of the year? Actually, beginning of the year and the end of the year are kind of like the big times. It's kind of like in the middle. It's where everybody starts gets a little fuzzy. Okay. Rationalize the denominator. Okay, I've never seen or done a problem like this, so I'll try to. There's just many different ways we can write the answer, so I'll just, I guess, write in from there. Oh, well, I'm not taking any questions from in the chat because obviously I have a lot from in here. I mean, you can already see I'm already doing like double the amount of questions I have. Find out zero of the following, find any multiple zeros from the function, say if they come from a factor that's raised to an n. All right. Find all the zeros. So, I mean, I'm assuming, Paco, is there any method that we're able to use on this from there? Because I'm going to use graphing to set myself up with that. Araffle, you're just in time because actually, no, never mind. I already did your question, so you can go back. I did your question. I did get in, but thank you for showing up. All right, let's get into these questions, guys. We got a lot. Exams are going on this week. So yeah. Okay. Let's get on with it. Okay. Oh, I'm still thinking of that geometry problem. I just want to make sure that plus that equals that. Yeah, okay. All right. Whole bunch of questions. All right, so now here's the bonus. Bonus side. How many questions are we doing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. All right, so elimination. So the best thing I would recommend, like I would always recommend well, best of luck. You got this. All right. So I would always recommend using substitution whenever. I'd always recommend using substitution whenever you have a term that is isolated. So if you have an x by itself or a y by itself, or if it's an x equals or y equals. Otherwise, I really do believe that like elimination is the preferred method. So when you're doing elimination, there's two things you want to do. You basically want to get the same coefficient for your x's or for your y's, okay? Now, in this case, to get the same coefficient, basically what you want to do is be able to, multiply them by common multiples, right? So therefore, they're going to have the same number. So you could do that with 3 and 4, but notice to that, you're going to have to multiply the bottom by 3 and the top by 4. Now, again, when I say multiply, I'm talking about everything, right? You just don't do the coefficient. You have to multiply everything in the equation. But that's going to be 2 multiplication problem, which you could do, but it's just a lot. What I recognize here is on this problem is if I multiply the whole bottom equation by a 6, right? So make sure you multiply everything by 6, then I'm going to get a new equation, right? And let's see what that equation is. 3x plus 6y equals a negative 12. And then that's going to be 6 times 4 is going to be a 24x minus a 6y equals a negative 30. Okay? So this is my new equation. After I multiply by 6, now here's my new system. And again, since I multiplied everything in that equation by 6, actually I'm not changing the solution to the system. What I'm doing is I'm just, basically having like a scale factor that's stretching that equation. But I'm not actually changing what the graph would look like. The nice thing here is now I can add these two equations. So when you're doing elimination, you can add or subtract the two equations, basically kind of how it works. And then now what I'm going to get is a 27x. This goes to 0, which we eliminated the y technically. And this is going to equal a negative 42. Now, of course, I did not pick numbers that were going to work out nicely. But I could, trying to think of 27, whatever. You can, let's actually, why is this a negative 12? What am I doing? That's a positive 12. Where'd that come from? Did anybody pick that out? No. That's a positive 12. All right, so this is going to be a, I was so close. Well, not really. This would be a, what, a negative 18? Yes, my brain hurts now. Yeah. Whatever. Why don't we just do this as a 3? Here, I'll change this problem. Changing problems as I go. So I'm going to make that a 3. Okay. So therefore, this becomes a negative 27. Right? Now divide by 27. Divide by 27. X equals a negative 1. Sorry, but I had to make up the equation because you didn't give me one. So now we have x equals negative 1. Now just plug it into either one of the equations, this equation, that equation, or the multiplied version of it, and then just solve for y. So that's going to be a 3 times negative 1 plus a 6y equals a 3. So that's a negative 3 plus 6y equals 3, and therefore a 6y equals a 0. No, sorry, add 3. Oh, come on, do your work, Mr. McLogan. See what happens when you get tired. So add 3 to both sides, and you get a 6y is equal to 6. Divide by 6, divide by 6, y is equal to 1. I have no idea what this graph looks like. I will tell you, though, these two graphs, though, are going to intersect at that coordinate point, which is a negative 1, 1. Okay, so no idea what they look like, but that's where they're going to cross. So that's what elimination helps us do. All right, so use the property logarithms to expand the following logarithm expression as much as possible. Where possible, evaluate the expressions without using a calculator. I'm not going to be evaluating. Well, I guess we could. So what we can do here is the quotient property. So I can say the log of 8 of 64, and then minus the log of the square root of x plus 1. Okay, now I can simplify that, right? Logarithm basically says this, so like the base raised to what power gives you the argument. So 8 raised to what number gives you 64? Well, that number's 2, right? And then I can rewrite this as a 1/2. So I can rewrite this as a rational power. I apologize, x plus 1 raised to the 1/2 power. And then the power rule says whenever you have a power, you can rewrite that in front. So 2 minus a 1/2 of log x plus 1. All right, convert into Vertex form by completing the square. First thing you want to do is rearrange things what they are, okay? Then we're just going to take our b, which is our linear coefficient, and divide them by 2 and square them. So 6 divided by 2 squared equals 9. Negative 8 divided by 2, quantity squared equals a negative 4. That's a positive 16, right? Take your middle term, divide it by 2, and square it. So therefore, I have an x squared plus a 6x plus 9 plus a y squared minus an 8y plus 16. Okay, so this, what I just did here is b divided by 2, quantity squared. Now, when you want to factor these down, so that equals what we call c. Now, a, which is when I have like an x plus or minus a quantity squared, a is just b divided by 2. So if I just took my b divided by 2, which is going to be 3, and this is a negative 4. So therefore, this is a x plus 3 quantity squared plus a y minus 4 quantity squared. And then again, oh, crap. That's equal to 0, right? I forgot there was an equal 0. Whatever you do on the left-hand side, guys, you got to do on the right-hand side. So that's a 9, and that's a 16? Right? So don't, like, I added those 9 and 16 on the left-hand side. Make sure you do that on the right-hand side as well. 25. All right. So a couple things we need to know. We know that these two angles add up to 180, right? We know that these two angles, these three angles add up to 180. So these two angles, right? These two angles plus this angle equals 180. This angle plus this angle adds like, let's just call this y, okay? So x plus 64 plus y equals 180 degrees. In the same respect, we could also say 2x plus 1 plus y equals 180 degrees. So what I want you to recognize is the y and the 180 are the exact same thing. So what I want you to say is then the x plus the 64 is equal to the 2x plus 1. So x plus 64 is equal to a 2x plus 1, right? So the two opposing angles are equal to this exterior angle. Now let's just go ahead and solve. So subtract the x on both sides. 64 equals a x plus 1 minus 1 minus 1. X equals a 63. All right, simplify the radical. So I'm assuming they want us to rationalize it. So therefore, if we want to simplify this, first thing I'll do is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify the radical. So square root of 8, come on. Square root of 8 can be written as a 4 times 2, which can be square root of 4 is going to be 2, radical 2. Okay, so I have a 1 over the square root of 8, right? Well, we just figure out the square root of 8, right? So that's going to be a 1 over a 2, radical 2. Now, if I want to get rid of the radical in the denominator, I'll multiply by the square root of 2 on 2. That's going to be rationalize the denominator, which is going to be the square root of 2 over square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is a 4. And there you go. All right. In this example, rationalize down. There's a couple different ways, again, we can kind of look at this. So, actually, never mind. So you can break this up to the numerator and denominator, right? So I have so I can rewrite this as a cosine of y all over a sine of y, right? So you just take the square root of something. Actually, let me actually explain it this way. Come on. So please understand the way that this is written is the same thing as cosine of y squared all over a 2 times a sine of y, quantity squared. Okay? So now I can distribute that to the numerator as well as to the denominator. And when I do that, so I get a 2, so cosine of y, squared, all over a square root of 2 sine of y squared. So what happens here is that's just going to give me now a cosine of y all over a square root of 2 sine of y, right? Well, if I want to rationalize the denominator, just like I did up here, multiply the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. These can combine here. to give me a cotangent. So you could have a square root of 2 over a square root of 2 cosine of y all over a 2 sine of y. Or you could write this as a square root of 2 over 2, and then this is going to be times a cotangent of y. So just a couple different ways to do that. All right, this example, trying to find all of the zeros. So what I would do is I would actually just go to Desmos, and I would type that in to see where we have a intercept. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm not going to share my screen though, because I think you guys can all go to desmos.com and type it in and see what you guys get. So y equals a 4x raised to the 4th plus a 4x cubed minus an 11x squared minus a 12x minus 3. All right, I am seeing a 0 at -1/2. Looks like a double 0, actually. I don't remember what's your question. I think I deleted it. Yeah, and then you're going to have to, and then you factor those. Jeez, oh man. Okay. So either way, so I'm seeing a 0 at -1/2. So that is so the graph crosses. So here's what the graph looks like. Okay. So what I want you to understand is here, it's going to have a even power. Okay. That's what we call a multiplicity of 2. So what that means is I can actually divide by -1/2 twice because it actually is repeated. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to do a 4, 11, -12, 3. So I'm going to do synthetic division here. So bring another 4. So 4 times -1/2 is going to be a -2. That's going to be a positive 2. 2 times a -1/2 is going to be a -1. My brain hurts. -12. -12 times -2 is going to be a positive 6. And again, I better get 0, right? And if I didn't, I did something wrong. So therefore, that's going to be -6. Negative times 1/2 is positive 3, 0. Okay. Now, since that's an even power, it's repeated. So this is a repeated 0. So the only reason I can do this is because it's repeated. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take -1/2 again. And typically, if we have a problem, if we have like 2 of them, so these 2 are like irrational. I didn't recognize these. So otherwise, you would just use the other 2 solutions. You'd use the other 2 roots. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down my previous answer. What I'm doing is I'm further breaking down this problem. So I have a 4, a 2, -12, and -6. All right, let's go and do it again. Bring down the 4. 4 times -1/2 is a -2. That's a 0. 0 times -1/2 is 0. That's a -12, and that becomes a positive 6. Right? So that's 0. So now that's my remainder, constant, linear, quadratic. So therefore, I have a, so it's important to recognize, like, you don't want to write a x plus 1/2, right, equals 0 as your 0. It's kind of hard. There's so many things I could talk about with this. What you want to do is write it without fractions. So basically what you have is a 2x minus 1 squared, right? Because they're repeated. And again, if you were to set that equal to 0, what would you get? You get 1/2, right? But just don't use fractions. And then here you have, well, actually, sorry, forget about this. Let's just go from here. So this is the other 0. So this is going to be a 4, x squared minus 12 is equal to 0. Okay, so then you've already go and solve, and you get a 4, x squared equals 12, divide by 4, x squared equals 3, square root, x equals a plus or minus the square root of 3, right? So you have those 2, and then you have x equals a -1/2. Let's just do that. But that one has a multiplicity equal to 2. And again, the only reason why I know it has a multiplicity 2 is because I looked at the graph, and it bounces, okay? Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining in. And guys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in. I am if you guys have exams coming up this week, I wish you guys the best of luck. If you already took an exam or you graduated, congratulations. And if I have helped you at all tonight or previously, I really appreciate all of your guys' support, your super chats, and helping me out help me stay motivated to help you guys out. All right, guys, have a great week, and I will be back next week. Cheers.